Hi, Leena.
Hi, David. I am really excited to talk to you today, not about all the analytics and insight stuff, but about you and your journey as a real role model for this company who is showing how parental duty is shared and thereby breaking some of the stereotypes around parental responsibilities. So I'm really excited to speak to you today about something completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I'm really interested to kind of share on this because it's something I'm quite passionate about.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about you.
So,
what do you do? What's your purpose? What do you do in Unilever?
Yeah, so I've worked at Unilever now for, I think it's almost about 8 years. And actually one of the main reasons I moved to Unilever was we were thinking about having a family. And before that, I'd been a management consultant working in lots of different industries all across the world.
Yes.
And I kind of felt to myself I needed to be somewhere that was going to be quite family friendly and support that kind of life that I wanted.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, and at the same time still be able to have a career because I didn't want to trade off one or the other.
Yeah.
So I joined Unilever. I've had a mix of careers from in our IT department, doing some change programs, and latterly in HR as running our people analytics team. And at home we've got 3 children, a 7-year-old called Sophie, a 4-year-old whose name is Ruben, and our little baby Beth, who is, well, not that little anymore, about 15 months old now. And, that's kind of when I think about my purpose, they are a huge part of my purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about it, what I absolutely love and the time I've had the most energy in my life is when I get to serve people and solve problems through data. So my current job was one that I really chose thinking about my purpose.
Nice.
Because if both of them come together, I'm really firing on all cylinders. And if one or the other is there, I feel pretty happy too. But together, it's been really good.
Fantastic. Can you just explain to everyone what are the different policies at Unilever so that, people can understand some of the terminologies that we are going to refer to?
There are a number of different policies. So I'll talk really about the UK, I guess, in the main.
Yes.
But I think people can get really easily confused. So the first one is there's paternity leave, which in the UK is like 2 weeks that every man gets legally, and Unilever gives 3 weeks, which is fantastic, and we do that, I believe now, right around the world.
Around the world.
Which is like fabulous. And so I've taken that with all 3 of our children.
Yes.
Then there's a thing called parental leave, which actually has got nothing to do with the birth at all. In the UK, you can have up to 18 weeks off per child, unpaid at any point up till their 18th birthday.
Yes.
And so with our second baby, I actually used 4 weeks of that and was off unpaid at the same time as my wife for 1 month. She took the full maternity leave and I took off a month, and it was a wonderful time to kind of bond with my family. It was 8 months in, and I felt very, very lucky to be in a place financially that I could afford to take a month off. I know that's not something everyone can do. And then finally, there's this thing called shared parental leave in the UK, which the way that works is a woman's entitled to 12 months of maternity leave.
Yes.
And what they can choose to do is with the father of the child is to actually share that leave. So you can decide that, rather than the mother be off the whole time, you could both be off together for a little bit.
Yeah.
So you could say, each parent's going to do 6 months and we're going to overlap it. So you're off for 9, you have 3 months individually, 3 months together, and then, another 3 months, one of you. Or you can do it so that you have the full year and one person does 4 months and the other one does 8, for example, which is what we did. So my wife with our third child took the first 4 months off and then I took the last 8. And what's wonderful about working at Unilever is we've got an amazing maternity policy in the UK. I think about 8.5 months paid, and that actually also applies to men. So for my 8 months off, I was actually paid for roughly about half of it, and then the other half was standard UK policy. So Unilever is supremely supportive, and I think what sometimes people confuse is they say, "Oh, my team are not taking paternity leave." I think we don't know anybody that doesn't take paternity leave. What is unusual is people taking the shared parental leave.
Why did you decide to take the shared parental leave?
I think it's almost it's a combination of 2 factors. So on this occasion, I think after our first 2 children, on both occasions, and my wife doesn't work at Unilever, she'd seen her career kind of not on exactly the same trajectory as before after she'd taken a year off each time. And, you know, she felt in a great place at work. And, you know, she never felt bad about those moments, but she felt in a great place at work. And she really didn't want to, take the whole time necessarily this time. But she also really, you know, we did not want to put our daughter into like nursery or childcare after 4 months. And it had always been something I'd wanted to do, to be honest. And with our two previous children, when we discussed it, you know, actually my wife wanted the time with both of those babies, and that was great. But this time, you know, when she sort of said, actually, do we need to do the whole thing? My view was, no, actually, I think, you know, it'd be great for me to do some of it. So that kind of encouraged me to think about it. And I had a conversation with, at the time I was actually going for a new job inside Unilever, and the job I have now. And I had a chat with the person who was recruiting me to say, actually, no one even really knows we've got a baby coming, but in like about 8 months' time, I might want to take some time out. And, you know, I'm thinking like 3 to 6 months. And she said, well, how many months is your wife going to take off? And I said 4. She said, okay, well, let's just call it 8 months. That's brilliant. I still love the idea that you're going to come in, and it doesn't change anything to do with the way I would like to have you in my team, you know?
Fantastic.
So supremely supportive kind of boss. And, you know, from me kind of feeling like, okay, I'm going to ask for it. I'd really like sort of 8, but I'll position it as 3 to 6. Just straight away kind of, don't be stupid. There's a whole year here. Why wouldn't you just do the whole thing? So, so that was, so that helped me on that journey of kind of acceptance.
A supportive boss is a very important ingredient for sure.
Yeah, supportive policy and supportive boss.
And how was the experience? Tell us more.
So it was amazing, but I doubt it was very different to how it's not like billions of women haven't already done it, right? And lots of men have done it. And I think, you know, everyone has a varied experience when they're off. My experience was amazing, but that doesn't mean that there weren't times when it was really tough. Longest days I've ever worked. You know? Like my wife left home in the morning at sort of 6:30 to commute to work, and she'd be home, you know, mostly she'd be back about 6, but that's like sort of almost 12 hours constantly on with, you know, 3 kids in the mornings and then 1 child all day, and then picking up people and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it was very, very full on, and there were times that were brilliant, and there were times that were quite lonely as well, you know. And I think we spoke about this before. I got a completely different perspective on inclusion while I was off. I'm a white middle-aged man, right? I am never ever in a minority, and on this I was in a real minority for like 8 months, and I felt it felt really interesting. I don't like, just to see how different people kind of reacted to it, and some people kind of overly friendly, some people thinking I needed lots of extra support and help, you know, and then 3 weeks later asking me, do you actually have other children? Yeah, I have 3, you know, like I kind of know what I'm sort of doing it. And other people that were, you know, just didn't know how to handle it. And, you know, some brilliant people that I made great friends with who really helped overcome that. But I think like a lot of people, it takes a bit of time to build that up. So, wonderful experience. My daughter it's been really interesting to see how the elder 2, if they really hurt themselves, you know, and like I'm the first one to pick them up, they kind of still want their mum. Whereas with Beth, if she hurts herself, it's like 70% chance she'll want me. So, yeah, I've definitely built a great connection, not just with her, but with the other 2 as well, over kind of 8 months. So,
is there any funny story, anecdote, anything that stays in mind?
I came in, so I did keep in touch days. Like once a month, I came back into the office just to stay in touch, because I didn't want to be totally out of touch.
It's a really good idea.
Back. Yeah, no, it was really, really good, and I think it's something we should encourage more people to do. But I did I came in and I was sitting down. I think actually it was a meeting with a couple of senior people, and we were talking about the data lake strategy for the next 3 years that one of my team had been working on. And I sat there and I thought to myself, yesterday at this time I was sitting on a floor at like Monkey Music, shaking some maracas with a bunch of, you know, under 6 months old. So just the kind of the total contrast and check out of like the kind of different skills that you were using, and the pace of life was really, really.
How was the transition back into the workplace?
So it was. So I think like the transition points are always the difficult ones, right? Like, so I love being at work and I loved being at home. And it's always the transition like off and the transition back which feel different, you know? So it was fine coming back. It worked well. I thought it was going to be a nice, gentle reintroduction. And it was much more of a 100% straight back in. Lots of people very excited to see me back. Univoice completely helped. I think 2 weeks afterwards, I came to you actually with the plan for Univoice. And one of your things was like, why didn't I see this a couple of months ago? And I was like, well, I've been here 2 weeks.
Late already.
Give me a chance. I'm on it. And actually, I think that was brilliant because I think there would have been time. I didn't really have time to think, and we were very lucky because it was coming into the summer holidays, so we had a lot of support around the kids. So the kids didn't. Our transition wasn't like the day I was back. The kids all suddenly went into childcare. My parents helped out for a week. My wife's parents did. I think the bigger piece is on the longer term transition. So whereas after our 2 previous children, you know, the flexible working policies are brilliant. So like I've always picked up and dropped off my kids, but I used to do like 1 day a week and my wife did the other 4. Now our model is that, you know, actually not only, rather than maybe seeing it as a bit more of a chore, I've seen it as a massive privilege. So, you know, I do the pickup and the drop-offs on a Monday. And, you know, and I work from home so I can do so I still put in a full day's work, but I'm there at the beginning and the end of the day. And then on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, I do all the drop-offs. You know, don't get me wrong, my wife still does like way more of the kind of household admin and stuff than I probably do, but I definitely do a lot more than I have done before. So I think the longer transition back to work, there's definitely more of a balance. And just simple things like I'm on the class WhatsApp groups now, which I never used to be before, you know, all those things like, I think this week we've had teddies in 2 days. We needed £3 in an envelope yesterday. My son had to take pajamas. Tomorrow's the Christmas fair and needs 20,000 donations. And, you know, very, very few dads are on that WhatsApp group. It's eye-opening. You're like, oh my God. And
the mental burden is a lot.
Absolutely. And so, while my wife still does a lot of that, you know, on a Monday night, like I'm in charge of prepping the kids for the next day. And so I think the longer term transition has been more interesting for me.
Excellent.
Different perspective.
And, you know, what advice would you give others? Would you recommend it to others? And what advice would you give them?
So I think kind of like everyone's personal circumstances are kind of different, right? There's a huge financial choice for a lot of people. And, you know, we're very lucky working at Unilever that like actually the financial part wasn't as extreme as it would be for others, you know, because if you're on statutory leave, there's a lot of choice there to take account of as well, right? It's not affordable for everyone. I would recommend it. I think it's been absolutely brilliant, but I do also think it's a double piece. It's not a single person's decision, you know, and there are a lot of mums I talk to who are like, I never would let my husband do that. Why on earth has your wife given up her time? You know? And I think it was much easier because it was our 3rd child to make that decision. I think it could be a lot harder with the first one, you know, so it's a joint decision. It's not a decision that the dad makes on his own. So I think there are huge benefits to doing it. I think it's a wonderful experience. It's something that I really cherish. So I think I wouldn't necessarily say like I recommend everyone does it, but I definitely recommend you think about it and think about what it can do, because there's definitely real benefits to it.
Yes. And what would you recommend organizations do? Because the statistics around this are still so low. Whether it's even paternity leave or parental leave, the statistics are still low. Not enough people are taking it. And, you know, how do organizations, Unilever and others, what more do we need to do to encourage people to take it?
So I love the Norway model. So this isn't really so much about companies, but this is more about countries. But I think the policy in Norway is fantastic because they took part of that maternity allowance and said, it's use it or lose it, but it has to be used
Yes.
by the dad or the other partner.
Yeah.
Right? So if the dad chooses not to do it,
Yes.
you have less time off with your child.
Yes.
That's it, right? You know, it's done. And, the stats show in Norway, the number of dads that do it is much higher. The labour participation rates for men and women have kind of converged.
Yeah.
So whereas it was 60-80, it's now like something like 67 and 73.
Yeah.
So like I think big policy holders have something big to do. I think for firms, there's a couple of things you can think about. I think there's one thing which is about in diversity, being for diversity everywhere, right? So, when we think about gender balance, supporting me to go off and do shared parental leave doesn't massively help us move our gender numbers, but it does help the whole country move their gender numbers, right? Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a big piece about people thinking about their gender diversity and other diversity policies holistically for the whole, rather than just their firm.
Yes.
We can do good beyond our walls.
Yeah.
And then the other one I think is that just unstereotype in your processes, in your support, in the way you talk to people. And I think that's something we've done brilliantly on, but there were still some really funny moments. Like when I got my contract to go off on shared parental leave, it informed me that I could buy on expenses a book on powerful women that have been on maternity leave. And you just thought to yourself, like, guys, like this is now the shared parental contract, right? This is like let's think about how do we unstereotype everywhere, and it was just I can't fault the support, but it's just one of those moments where we still haven't all got it in our heads
But it is.
that this should be natural, that there should be lots of men going through that policy. Do you know what I mean? And
absolutely,
maybe it's a great read. I'm sure it is, but. Yeah, it felt funny to me, that.
Fantastic, David. Absolutely brilliant talking to you and getting a sense and insight of what it was for you and what we can do as organisation and as leaders.
Thanks, Leena. It was really nice to have the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.